Okay, I'm here with Shana Kennedy. She's the executive director of the new circus school opening up in Philadelphia called Circadium. Hello.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to have you here today because I have so many questions about Circadium and also just a few questions about you. I wanted to ask a little bit about your background in circus. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been a circus person since I was very young because when I grew up in Massachusetts, and that was when the Clyde Beatty Colebrother Circus used to travel in New England, bringing their big three-ring tented show from town to town. And so every year I would go to the circus and just fall in love with something different every year. So I would come back from the circus wanting to be an animal trainer, wanting to be a clown, or wanting to be an aerialist. And it wasn't until I got to be a teenager that I figured out that I could actually learn some of these things myself. And so I'd try to set up things in my backyard, a lot of ill-fated adventures trying to become a circus artist by myself in my backyard. But I learned eventually to unicycle and juggle and got connected with the local juggling clubs in Boston. And from there, it was a series of stepping stones. I realized that circus was my passion. I went and trained at Circadium in the UK in the mid-90s, and then came back and did a lot of freelance performing work in sort of the late 90s, early 2000s. And by about the year 2000, my husband and I had settled in Philadelphia and bought a house that was big enough to build some circus practice spaces inside it. And we started teaching informally. Greg kept touring as a professional performer while I settled down and started having kids and doing more teaching. And things just started to grow and grow from there. So I've been running the current kind of teaching practice of the Philadelphia School of Circus Arts since about the year 2000.
Okay, and is the Philadelphia School of Circus Arts a recreational program or a pre-professional?
It's really a recreational program. We have about 400 students a week right now that are coming in for adult and youth classes. Started off as aerials only and with adults only back in those early years. And then we started expanding to kids and expanding the different disciplines we offer. So now we have a full range. We have acrobatics and juggling and tight wire classes and parkour, all kinds of things here.
Wow, sounds like a fun school. So how did the idea to start Circadium come about then?
Well, good question. I think it's been kind of in the seeds of my brain for a long time, the idea that the U.S. should have a school for higher education of circus the way they have in Europe, because that's where I came from, and I knew that this was something that had to happen. And I will tell you that there actually was a turning point for me, which is a conversation I had with Duncan Wall in New York City in about the year 2013. When we were having this conversation, I was saying, oh yeah, at some point that's going to happen. That will happen. And he said, well, what are you waiting for? And I realized at that moment that I was waiting, assuming that someone else would do this at some point. And I realized that no one was going to do it, that it had to be me and people that I know who could put it together and make a team strong enough to get this off the ground. So we started the brainstorming process in 2013, where we had big meetings with 10, 20 people in the room to kind of discussing what we could do, what the community needs, what is possible, what's feasible. And it evolved over the last 3 years into the current launch of Circadium.
Wow. That's so indicative of being a mother. I have that happen to me all the time too. I'm waiting, and then I realize I have to just do this because I want this to happen. And it's like a process that you learn as you have kids and you have to go out and make things happen for them. And you realize, hey, this is important for the area, the country, right? And you just did it.
Oh, yeah. I have 3 kids of my own, and so I definitely understand that reality.
Mm-hmm. So you decided to call it the School of Contemporary Circus. That's a great name. I just wanted to delve into that a little bit. Is it important to you that it's a contemporary circus school as opposed to traditional skills?
It is important, but how you define contemporary is a little bit of a question. So we actually had the first name for the school. We originally called it the Institute for American Contemporary Circus, even though it had contemporary in the name, but it was a bit more of a grandiose sounding name. And after about a year of that, we decided that that was too formal sounding for us because we consider ourselves in Philadelphia so based in physical theater and artistic development that it's less important to us to be something very fussy and national sounding and more important to be true to the passion of the people involved in the project. And so Circadium felt like a natural fit for a name. And the contemporary circus part is very important to me because I think that what we're saying with Circadium is not just we're opening a school. It's more that we are creating a sector. Okay. So let's see. We believe the name contemporary circus is very important because we think that in Circadium, we're not just building a single school. What we're doing is starting a sector. We're starting a part of circus education in this country that's going to have a big impact on where circus stands as an art form. And where it stands as an art form right now is that you have a well-established traditional sector that is still struggling to maintain its relevancy in current times. And you have little smatterings of younger companies that are trying edgier work, but that are having trouble getting their feet on the ground and trouble getting a foothold with theaters and with audiences. And there's momentum for that. There's momentum for that movement to happen the way we've seen in Europe and the way we've seen in Canada, but it's not there yet. So what we want to say is we are creating a school that is going to be an incubator for companies that are trying to do new circus work and trying to really change what it means to be a circus artist in this country.
That is
and that's
brilliant.
great.
Yeah, that is exactly what we need.
Yeah, and I would love to say something about contemporary versus traditional, and this is a quote actually from a brilliant man named Tim Roberts, who is he's just starting as the higher education director of the École de Cirque du Québec. He just left being the president of FEDEC and the director of the London National Center for Circus Arts. And I asked him recently about contemporary versus traditional, and he said this is a ridiculous question. He said, contemporary is whatever's happening right now. So if you have a student that wants to go out there and wear a sequin vest and juggle 7 clubs with a flashy ending, it's still contemporary. It's what is being done right now by students and by artists. And so it doesn't really mean a certain style or another style. It means what matters to the young people who are creating it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I like that definition.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect. So it's been in the works since 2013, roughly.
Yes, that was when we began it.
Okay. And when will it open officially?
We're welcoming our first class of students in fall 2017.
2017. And it'll be in Philadelphia. What neighborhood?
We're in the Germantown part of Philadelphia. It's northwest Philly.
Uh-huh. I know it well.
Mm-hmm.
What will the first year be like? Will it be as solid as an established institution?
Yes, it will be. We have a pretty clear program. So part of the process that we've gone through is this massive state licensing process where you have to submit all of your curriculums and all of your teachers' qualifications and your schedules and everything really well mapped out to get a license from the state. And so we've been through all that. We've got a very clear schedule. We know all of our dates and hours and times, the number of course credits and all of that stuff. And the first year includes students are experimenting all the different disciplines. So they have 4 segments of technical classes. They have juggling.
Oh, here
Sure.
you go.
So let's see. So we've got 4 different disciplines. And their schedule is going to be kind of interesting. They're going to be training intensively, long days from 8:30 to 5:30 on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Wednesdays will be a day of a much easier schedule. They'll have very few structured classes. They'll have body work. They'll have more open training times they can use if they want to. But we thought that was a nice opportunity to give them a little break midweek.
Yeah.
Intensity. And in the afternoon, so those are the mornings, the first year. Mornings are physical, technical classes. In the afternoons, they have theater and dance and academic classes.
Wow.
And the academic classes are a whole variety of things. I believe in the first year we have music and writing. I'll have to see what the third academic is right now. But over 3 years, the academic areas covered are music, writing, business planning, financial management, stage tech. So we're teaching the lighting and sound. We have a few little elective courses in public speaking and French language, very useful language, and circus now, things like that.
That's so
we're
important.
kind of a pretty broad range of skills.
That's wonderful. Sounds like a great program. So how many students do you intend to have the first year, or each year, should I say?
We'd like each class to be 15 to 20 students. That seems to be the sweet spot.
Mm-hmm.
And we model a lot of what we do after the way schools are structured in Europe and Canada, that they've found that to be a good number. We also have a school in Philadelphia called the Pig Iron School for Physical Theater, and we've done a lot of work with them to learn how their programs work. And they also find like around 18 students is their favorite class size to have.
Okay. And will your students be able to have specialties that they major and minor in, as almost like a regular college, or?
Yeah, they will. So starting in the second year, they choose a major and a minor specialization, and they spend all their technical times then. So for half the day, they're working on their majors and minors. And as year 2 and 3 go on, they begin to create their final acts. We've had a good bit of debate about what these final acts look like. And we don't have a final decision yet on that third year, whether it's a single show the way they do it at the Circus in Montreal, where it's one single show they all do, or whether we will spread the performances out during the year or do something as a creative group project. That's still under discussion.
Okay. Can you tell me a little bit about your instructors or some of your staff members?
Sure. There are 4 core circus staff. Actually, let's talk about 3 for now. One is still up in the air. The 3 that are going to be the main teachers are Adam Woolley, who is our aerial coach. Mm-hmm. Adam is a fantastic head coach of the Philadelphia School of Circus Arts right now, and he has a whole range of skills that he teaches in aerials. He specializes in verticals, so teaching rope and fabric, but can do a bit of everything. We've decided that if we need other types of aerial specialties, we'll bring in other coaches as well. Adam is not a specialist in single point trapeze or aerial ladder or things like that. So we may bring out coaches as well as needed. That's for aerials. For acrobatics, we have Krzysztof Soroczynski. Krzysztof is an unbelievable figure in circus. He's in his 60s now, and he has been doing circus since he was a kid. He was a competitive sports acrobat in Poland and then joined the Polish circus school, went on to perform at Cirque du Soleil and become a head coach there, and then became the acrobatic performance designer for Cirque Eloise. So he was part of the creation team of all the big Cirque Eloise shows. And he's been responsible for all of the huge acts that you see from the trample walls and the teeter boards and all the really creative, massive group acrobatic things in Cirque Eloise were right under Krzysztof's auspices.
Wow.
So he's wonderful because he has all this immense technical knowledge of how to teach acrobats. But he also is very passionate about creativity, about building new things and making new things happen in circus. So he's fantastic.
Wow.
Then the third person that we have on our core staff is Greg Kennedy, my husband. Mm-hmm. Greg has made a name for himself as the innovative juggler for the last 2 decades. He's been building crazy shapes and juggling inside them and bouncing balls around them for a long time. He's pretty well known among jugglers. And what he brings to the table is this real sense of entrepreneurship and striking your own course. He can teach traditional juggling if there are students that want to just become numbers jugglers or work very hard on cigar boxes or contact juggling. He can do all those things. But I think what people are most excited about is the creative aspect of juggling. What is object manipulation going to hold in the future?
Wow. Great. Sounds like a wonderful staff. And you'll be adding more as the time as needs arise, I suppose.
We will. We have lots of other teachers lined up already for some of the other disciplines, theater and dance and the academics as well. We're still getting everything completely finalized, but we're confident that we have a good staff for all those things.
Great. So, Shana, who would you say the ideal candidate is for this school? Its first couple years, I should say.
Well, the first thing to say is there's no age limit. We are not going to say people who are 45 cannot apply for Circadium, but this is going to be a fairly rigorous academic program, physical program. So they'll be training physically 4 to 6 hours every day. So the students need to be very fit to start with, and we expect students 18 to 25 to be most of our candidates, partly because of the physical fitness, but partly because of the time commitment. It's 3 years full time. And so there aren't too many people in their late 30s or 40s who can spend 3 years studying full-time. But if they can and they're able to, we are open. The thing that we really want is students who are interested in contributing artistically. And that's in some ways where the older students will have an edge, is that, the longer you live, the more you have to say artistically. I hate to say that to our 18-year-olds, but there really is, a lot still to be learned. And so we expect to have a good number of 18-year-olds auditioning for the program and being accepted to the program, but we would love to see a good handful of older students as well who maybe come from a different background. We're going to be interested in seeing dancers and gymnasts and actors who want to do circus. So it's not required to come in with, your 7-minute circus act all polished. Absolutely not.
Okay, that's great. So I guess I wanted to ask you what the tuition is anticipated to be, and will there be scholarships?
Sure. The tuition is set right now at $15,000 a year. There will be some financial aid available. We haven't totally finalized how that's going to work yet, but it's probably going to be a combination of some just need-based grants from the school itself, and then also partnerships with banks for personal loans. Because the school, this is an important point, the school is not accredited yet, and so you cannot get federal student loans for it. Okay. So students can get personal loans, and we can be the backup organization for those loans. Mm-hmm. They won't be federally supported. That's one of the reasons that we've focused on keeping the tuition low, because we know that students are going to have to finance this themselves.
And when do you anticipate it becoming an accredited institution?
We're not sure. We're not even sure that it ever will need to be. École Nationale de Cirque in Montreal is not accredited by American standards, for American students at least, and they've done fine. There's two pieces to accreditation. One is that you have credits and can transfer to a different school. And our students are going to be focused on performing careers. They're not going on to a graduate education, at least right away. And if they decide to change course completely and become an accountant, they're probably going to head to grad school anyway. So we're not so much focused on that transfer of credits issue. The financial aid would be a big help if we could find a way they get federal loans. However, we still think that the higher education model in this country is so broken as far as the cost that students are paying, that we're not sure we really want to go down that path. Because if we were to get an accredited school, we'd be charging $25,000, $30,000 a year for the school. And yes, they're getting financial aid, but then they're also saddled with a huge amount of debt when they leave school. And for artists, we don't think that's a responsible choice. We really think it's better for them to have less debt and be able to work.
Yeah.
So right now, we are not offering a accredited degree. We're offering a vocational diploma instead. This is a state-recognized diploma, but it is like a vocational school.
Okay. And can you tell me how Circadium is different from other circus schools in the USA?
Sure, yeah. I guess the first thing to say is I don't expect that Circadium will be the only one of its kind forever. There are already several schools right now in Chicago and Vermont, in Seattle and Florida, that are attempting to offer multi-year courses. They've done that a little bit more gradually. They've offered a 1-year course and then slowly built it to a 2-year course. And these courses, as far as I understand, are fairly well integrated into their regular school programming. We're trying to make Circadium a standalone organization. It will share a facility with the Philadelphia School of Circus Arts, but as a program, it's really very separate in the idea that the students' training time is going to be it's sacred and it's a commitment. They cannot drop in and out of this course. It is something they have to commit 3 years of their lives to. In Europe, the way they make the distinction between higher education versus just other kinds of schools is government recognition. And of course, in Europe, that often comes with government funding as well. Yeah, we will not have that, but we will have the state recognition. And that's an important piece. In Pennsylvania, I'm actually not sure how it works in other states. In Pennsylvania, you cannot say that you are training students for a profession without being licensed to do so. And so they're very clear on that in our state. And the licensing process is complex and expensive. Mm-hmm. So that is our main claim to fame for Circadium, is that we are state licensed and that we are offering a 3-year program that is, really trying to change students' options when they leave high school. They think that there is an option to go to a collegiate type program for circus. But again, I do think that other schools will follow our lead on this, and that within 5 to 10 years, we'll have a few to choose from.
And hopefully within 5 to 10 years, there will be government recognition of circus arts education as being an art worthy of funding.
That would be most excellent. We can
I hope so.
Hope for that.
So can you tell me, you're running a Kickstarter program. Can you tell me a little bit about that and what that's going to do for Circadium?
Sure. So, as with every circus school and nonprofit in this country, we have to fundraise. And Circadium has gone so far since 2013. We've been a fully volunteer-operated school. We've just been kind of running things out of the offices of the current school and just making do with a few donations here and there. But it's time now to really get serious and get this infrastructure in place to make this happen. So we're running a campaign for $50,000. And what that money is actually earmarked towards is facility renovations and circus equipment, a little bit of operational expenses. Like I said, the state licensing process is pretty extensive, and that will cost a few $1,000s. But a lot of the $50,000 that we're raising is really going to buy things like, building in-floor trampolines and an aerial truss to set up for some of our higher flying apparatus. And then it will also be kind of the nest egg money to begin when we start paying people next year. We don't expect to be paying a lot of salaries until the school actually opens its doors in 2017, but we do have some costs we have to cover before that. So this will be a great kind of way for us to start off the school and get everything on solid financial footing so we can really confidently open the doors next fall.
And it's kind of following the tradition that the U.S. has of, having patrons as opposed to if there's not government funding to sponsor this. If you are a circus lover or supporter or involved in the industry, to help support this school would be an important gesture to make.
It is, and that's a very funny comparison too, because I was speaking to some of the directors of schools in England and France who don't have individuals donating money to them on a regular basis, and they said it's for a number of reasons. Part of it, the government doesn't actually make it very favorable for people to contribute to charity the same way they do here. But yeah, in this country, nonprofits are supported by the people, and we were told that from the very beginning forming a nonprofit, is that it doesn't even matter if you think you could run by yourself. As a nonprofit, the government is allowing you to not pay taxes, and you understand that you are meeting the needs of many, many different people who care about your mission. So that's essential. It's essential for us to feel that we have the community support. But one thing I think is hard to communicate to the circus community is why this matters, why it's just not some circus school opening in Philadelphia. Many circus schools have opened around the country, and they do their fundraising to kind of get their schools off the ground. But this is not, as we see it, a localized project. We really see that this school is not only going to appeal to students around the country, but that it is going to have that powerful effect on circus, the circus industry and art form, how people can find work, how people can build programs, how they can develop companies. Like all these things are just beginning in a wonderful stage of growth. So supporting Circadium is a vote for that growth, a vote for, yes, let's move circus forwards.
Yeah.
And so we're excited about it. We think there's a really broad range of reasons people should support it.
Great. Yeah, I agree. That's wonderful. So when is the deadline for your students to apply?
Our deadline is November 30th for this year. So we have 2 months for people to get their applications in. Mm-hmm. And we've had a few in already. It's exciting to see them kind of trickle in as people get their materials together. And then we'll be inviting people to live auditions in March.
Okay.
So come out to Philadelphia. A great chance for us to see them, but also for them to see us, to meet the coaches, to see the space, to see Philadelphia, get to know the city a little bit. Mm-hmm. So we're excited to have that moment happen in March this year.
Great. Well, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you wish I had asked?
Anything else? We've talked about a lot of things. I think that's all. I think I would just encourage people to ask me questions directly if they'd like to know anything more about Circadium's programs. I'm here all the time, working in Circus every day, and just thrilled to really be able to welcome more people to our school and our community.
That's wonderful, Shana. Thanks so much for chatting with me today.
Okay. Thanks,
I
Rita.
appreciate it.